So this is part two, and I'm sorry I spent the first half talking about what happened before and like the middle of the storm. But as I was saying, we lost power at like 5:30 in the afternoon as the sun was going down. The winds were like pulling up to near hurricane strength, and I ended up doing my homework in the dark. Those winds are like whipping. The winds are like rumbling. It sounded like a freight train almost. The winds were like really insane. You could hear like rumbling outside. It sounded like some freight train was passing by. That's how bad the winds were. Like you could hear them like from out the window, even sitting down, far from window. You could still hear them. It was like so bad. The winds were like climbing up to 80 miles an hour. I remember sitting in that living room. It was like pitch black out. And by the time I went to bed, I did not go to sleep until 2 in the morning. Because it was like hard to sleep through all of this. Yeah, I was in bed and I could hear the wind screaming. It was like crazy. It was like a lot of howling, a lot of screaming outside. Those 90-mile-an-hour wind gusts, they were crazy. They were really crazy. I could hear them while I'm laying in bed, going to sleep in pitch black bedroom. Like they were like going. It was like nuts. You could hear them screaming while I was in bed. Those winds like got up to 90 miles an hour, and they were like sustained at 50 miles an hour. That's what we were seeing that night. And it was completely dark in that room. You couldn't really see a thing. We had to like put one flashlight in there. Yeah, it was really scary. It's not surprising that it was hard for me to sleep through all that. And I didn't go to sleep until like 2 in the morning that night. And then I get up the next morning and it was still cloudy, but the wind started to die down a bit. They were like only at 40 miles an hour, or 30 miles an hour that time. The winds like suddenly died down like into the graveyard hours. But it was a complete mess everywhere. Yeah. I remember doing my homework again as soon as I got up, and it was nothing left. And then my dad plugged in the generator and we got our TV back, and we got like everything else back that we needed, not just wanted, with the generator. Like the TV was plugged in and other stuff we needed was plugged in, but only the stuff we needed when we plugged the generator in. Yeah, we plugged the generator in like the next morning. We got out of the shed and we like put it to work immediately when we got up. And then I continued on with my homework. I was like supposed to do some tests, but then all of a sudden it got canceled because of the hurricane. I remember inviting my friend Nick over so I could study with him. We were like doing homework at the same table. Yeah, that was like when he started coming over to my house. Around that time. Yeah, I hung out with him for a few hours in the house after we finished homework. Even though we had no power, we still hung out even though we had no power. We tried to make the best of it while we could. And then Wednesday comes, I see Nick again. I am in my Frankenstein costume and we went trick-or-treating during the daytime. Me, my brothers, and Nick, we all went trick-or-treating. while we had no power, and we took advantage of it in the afternoon. We had to trick or treat in the afternoon because it didn't pay to like wait till night. And what's the point of waiting at night if you can't go to school? So that's why we took advantage of it in the afternoon. I mean, if it wasn't for Hurricane Sandy and we had school that day, we would have done it at night. But once the hurricane hit, we had to do it in the afternoon because we're not staying in that house like with no power. We had a great time trick-or-treating, no matter what was going on. I felt bad going to house, seeing those families have no electricity. Like, when they opened their door and they were giving me candy, I saw that all their lights were off. Because I felt really bad because Sandy took a whack at everyone's electricity. Unfortunately, my friend Nick lost power for a little bit, but he like had it back like almost immediately. That was a good thing. But I remember that Halloween night, and then once nighttime came, that Halloween night, we sat down as a family in the living room, and we were watching that Shrek Halloween special, where they were in Duloc, and they were telling all these fake scary stories as some Halloween challenge. Yeah, we were watching Scared Shrekless, I think, in the living room on Channel 7 because we had the generator hooking up the TV. We were having like a family movie night while we had no lights. Believe it or not, that Saturday, I remember watching Rugrats Go Wild before the storm. And we ended up watching it again on the portable DVD player we have that we use during emergencies when we don't have power. Yeah, I love Rugrats Go Wild. It's like a crossover with the Rugrats and the Wild Thornberrys. It has like a great storyline to it. Despite Stu being dumped on because he had like this rickety boat that he didn't know a storm was gonna hit it. Yeah, I wish the adults were a little more understanding towards Stu. That's what really bothered me watching the whole movie. And I remember after we watched Shrek, we went to bed, and my dad had to like go out at 12 o'clock at night to get more gas for the generator. And he was at a gas station for like all night. He was in his Saturn, sitting on line by a gas station till like dawn. He was like in his Saturn, in that long line at the gas station, trying to get gas for a generator. And he didn't get home until like 7 in the morning. Like, he left at like midnight or 1 in the morning, and he had to sit in that line for hours. It was like the morning of November 1st. It was really sad. It was really bad of what was going on. It's really terrible seeing those families waiting in line at gas stations to get gas for their generator because they don't have power. That's how bad Sandy was. A lot of homes were lost. A lot of lives were lost. A lot of floods were everywhere. There was a lot of fires. There was a lot of historic winds. There was a lot of rain coming down. It was ridiculous. It was ridiculous those families had to wait in line to get gas for their generator. They were like long lines that people were there all night, and my dad was one of those people. My dad left at like 12:30, 1 in the morning, and didn't get home till like 7 on that long gas line. Like, he had to sit in his Saturn online all night. And it was November 1st already. And by the time Sandy was over, we had temperatures plummeting down like a rock. Those temperatures dropped like a rock. That it was like 50 or 60 degrees during Sandy, and all of a sudden the temperatures like dropped to 30 degrees. Because Sandy had like a cold front to it, and it actually dumped snow in West Virginia. That blizzard warnings had to be issued because there was going to be snow and wind in West Virginia. Yeah, that's the cold front that came with Sandy. That when Sandy was out here, we had temperatures falling like a rock. And it was like pretty unusual since it was a late season hurricane. And we don't really worry about hurricanes this time of year. They usually move out to sea because it's really cold here, but we don't know that. Something could happen. Something could happen. Like, we could still see something in November. Who knows? We never know. You have to be aware all year round. Whether it's June or November when it comes to hurricanes. Like, we could see one happening next week. We don't know. Hurricane season brings a lot of surprises to us. Tune for parts.